Hello, everyone. Welcome to the TradeStation Masterclass. My name is Jesus Nava, the Director of Client Training and Education for TradeStation Securities. And it's always a pleasure to be joining you in this class to talk about the TradeStation technology. Today, we're going to highlight the quotes application and the chart application inside of the web trading platform. It's a topic that we've done in the past. However, for those of you that have not heard the topic, sometimes it's beneficial to see what's available and what is possible with the TradeStation platform. So before we get started, the usual disclosures for our class. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that we talk about in this presentation is for educational purposes only. These are not recommendations of TradeStation. Also, active trading is not suitable for everyone, and past historical performance may not be indication of future results. Always keep these disclosures in mind. Visit www.tradestation.com/important-information, the link that's right there on the PowerPoint slide, if you need additional information on these disclosures, all right? Thank you guys for being here. Let me switch over to my browser and let's talk about web trading. And before I do so, a few announcements for this week. I'm sorry I posted the schedule late. We still, need some compliance approval on that. But I wanted to, give you guys a head start as to what is it that we're going to talk about this week and next week as well. So we're working on that at this time. It's a normal week. So today we're going to do our 12:30 session. Tomorrow we have two classes. We have Ask the Experts at 11:30, and we're going to have a technical analysis presentation tomorrow where we're going to highlight stochastic, RSI, and percent R. Take a look at some of the technicalities that are in those technical indicators. On Wednesday, we're going to do our strategy elements series, and we are going to talk about, I think it's a strategy performance report, if I'm not mistaken, and take a look at one of the tabs that we don't look at as much as the summary. The summary tab is the one we look at most of the time because it's the one that summarizes the report for you. But we're going to take a look at the trade list tab and see some of the things that jump out and that are important for anybody that's developing a strategy to always consider. On Thursday, we're going to do our easy language class. I think we're going to talk about counting events and conditions and how to program that into our indicators and strategies. And on Friday, normal day, we're going to do Ask the Experts at 11:30, and then we have our platform essentials at 12:30, which I think it's going to be about running macros and using hotkeys, or running hotkeys using tool, or it's running macros and using hotkeys and toolbar buttons. I think that's the title of the presentation. But again, it's a presentation to talk about some of the features that are part of the TradeStation platform that are kind of hidden. That's the purpose of the class. And of course, today you can ask any questions related to the TradeStation technology. That's the reason why I'm here. And I just want to help you guys understand the TradeStation technology. We already talked about using quotes and charting on the desktop. When we introduce web trading, I always like to say that web trading is more like a simplified version of TradeStation. Many of you may not need all the bells and whistles that are on the desktop, although some of you come here specifically for that reason because you want to learn about all the bells and whistles that are in TradeStation. I'm that kind of guy too. I like to dive deep into certain functionality and make sure I understand all the checkboxes and all the buttons and everything you can do with the functionality, because I may find something that works for me. So that's the reason why we do the classes in here. It's for you to get an opportunity to dive deeper, not only look at the surface, not only look at what's available to your eyes, but also think about the things that you can do in the background. And I got sidetracked here. So I was talking about web trading, simplified version of TradeStation. So no bells and whistles, very straight to the point, simple to use, and most importantly, portability, ability for you to take web trading wherever you are. There are going to be situations where you don't have access to your desktop, you don't have access to the full-blown installed TradeStation platform, and you may want to still, be using a computer because of the size of the screen and pull up your TradeStation account. In those instances, web trading is great. If you're visiting a friend, if you're traveling, whatever the reason is that you don't access web trading. Also, in the instances where you may have a computer crash, hard drive fails, something happens to the computer per se, you don't have access to your desktop, you can pull up, web trading on a tablet. You can pull it up, even on a Mac. I know that a lot of you are Mac users. I'm a Mac user myself. I like my Mac, and I have it here next to me. So, in the sense that if I needed to pull up a quote or pull up a chart, I can do it on my Mac. Just opening up Safari, going to TradeStation's website, and pulling up web trading. Okay, so enough about the reasons why web trading exists, but one of the main things is portability, and I think secondary to that is the fact that it's simple to use. You pull up tradestation.com, doesn't matter what browser you use. In this case, I'm using Chrome, but as I just said, if you are a Mac user and you're using Safari, then you can pull up TradeStation there as well. It works with any browser, I believe, so just give that a try. Regardless of what it is, the Firefox, Netgear came to mind, but I'm not even sure if that's a browser. I think it may have been back in the days, but okay. So here on tradestation.com, we're going to click on login right here at the very top. And of course, you get different options of things that you can log in to. One of them is going to be the Web Trading Live, and the other is going to be Web Trading Simulator. Just be aware which one you're clicking on. We don't want to have any surprises, or we don't want you to make any mistakes of placing trades in the environment that you didn't intend to. So if you want to practice, if you want to learn, then I would recommend you go to Web Trading Simulator. That way, you're not using real money, you're not using real trades. Let me go ahead and put in my information here. Okay, so when I log in, it opens up web trading. This is version 1.34. It tells you what's new, and I'm just going to read here to see if anything was added recently. The volume column has been updated to display color shaded activity. Oh, right here. Didn't have that before. It lets you identify what volume occurred at each price level during the current session. So matrix was enhanced. And that's about it. No, that's cool. Okay, let me close this out. And this is web trading. So I'm going to assume that some of you already have seen this. So this is not, an introductory class. Organize my web trading in a way that makes sense to me. And I'm just going to maximize one of these panels. Okay, quotes, I'm going to leave it here. And I'm going to close out positions. So this is quotes. Let's talk about quotes first and the things you can do in here. And then we'll jump over to chart and we'll look at how to link them together to work in your advantage. This is called quotes because although it looks like radar screen, is not even close to radar screen. Not because I'm a fan of I am a fan of radar screen. So let me not say that. I am a fan of radar screen. And this is not even close to what radar screen can do. However, if you're looking for straight quotes, if you're looking just for prices on a list of symbols, this is pretty good. So what's available here? Well, you have all these X's on the far left, allowing you to remove symbols. But I'm not going to remove symbols here because as you can see up here to the top, I'm looking at the Dow 30. I'm going to go to this drop down and notice that you have multiple lists. Well, I have multiple lists because I've created multiple lists. I think that if you go to the drop down, you should at least see Dow 30. You should at least see, I believe you should see sector ETFs. I don't recall creating that myself. And you should see one called quotes. So what this really implies is that you can create your own list of symbols, and you can pull them up inside of the Quotes app. Before we go into renaming lists here, let me go here to quotes, which is what I think I started off with. So this is my list of symbols. I can see them over here, and the X's, of course, on the left-hand side allow you to delete or remove a symbol from your quotes. So if I want to remove Intel, I just click on the X here. If I wanted to add a symbol, I can do it either by entering the symbol at the top where it says symbol, or entering that at the bottom. Let me go ahead and enter AT&T, and that gets added. If I want to do AA, which is Alcoa. So, you can just type in the symbol and hit enter, or you can, search for the company name. Sometimes you may not know the symbol. Let's suppose that I don't know what the symbol of Bed Bath & Beyond is. So I'm going to type in Bed Bath, and you can see that is right here. So you can also click from the from the search results, so that you can pull it up. So let's go here, BBBY, and that's the symbol for Bed Bath & Beyond. Okay, so deleting and added symbols, very simple. If I wanted to, make this into a custom symbol list, I just go over here to the drop down, and I can say, add a list. I can say, create a new quotes list. And then I can call this my second list, just to make it a custom name. I'm going to click OK. And now that's interesting, because this is odd. I thought it was going to add those symbols to the list, and it didn't. It just created a new list called my second list. And it just started off from scratch. So don't do what I just did. Before you enter the symbols and then try to save it as a list, try to create the list first and then add the symbols. On the TradeStation desktop, I was just used to having all the symbols on the list, then highlighting the symbols and create a custom symbol list. It doesn't seem to work that way here in quotes. Here you create the list first and then you add the symbols. Because any changes you make, for example, I was here in the quotes tab. Any changes that I make here, let's say that I want to add Intel, and I want to add IBM, and I want to add Apple. So any changes that I make are automatically made to the list that is already there. So something to keep in mind. So whatever shows up here, that's the list that you'll be editing. So if I click over here and I go to my second list, which is the one that I just created, it's blank. Technically blank. It is not absolutely blank, because I think you can start off with a blank. If I try to, erase this very symbol that shows up, I'm unable to. So there's always going to be a starting point, and that starting symbol is going to be $SPX.X, which is the S&P 500 index. And I believe you can change that. If you go here into settings of the web trading platform, I'm going to go here to app settings. And because not everyone has, real-time data for $SPX.X, and it's just kind of, it's just kind of weird every time you open up a quote that you have a symbol that doesn't load, right? So over here, let me see if it's here, maybe it's not, a chart. Well, the chart allows you to have a default symbol. Now, this is interesting because I can change that symbol. I'm not sure if it'll apply to quotes. Let's see. I'm going to say that I want to start with Microsoft all the time. So make a change. I close it. Let's go ahead and remove that second list that we created. So I can delete current quotes list. So I want to delete my second list. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to come over here to the drop down one more time. I'm going to add a list, and I want to say create new quotes list. Let's call this my second list. Okay, so it seems like we don't have that setting for the quotes window. So every time you open quotes, it'll always be the S&P 500, the first symbol that shows up. We do have it for charting. So charting is cool because every time you open up a chart, it'll be the symbol that you want. But over here, I can add Microsoft. And then once I have a second row added, I can go up here and remove the SMT. So what you cannot do is delete the last row visible. It doesn't let you do that. But once you add a second row of a symbol, then you can go back and delete the one that you don't want. Okay, does that make sense? So over here, it's a quick drop down for you to manage the list of symbol lists. If I go here to rearrange symbol, there's nothing to rearrange. But if I go here to a list like my quotes, and I go to this drop and rearrange the symbols, I have the ability to, move these symbols up and down if I wanted to. Okay, or I can just delete them from here as well. No, it doesn't let me do that. I wonder why it shows that, from the bottom. So if I wanted to delete I and DU, I have to drag it here to the bottom. And then delete and delete. That's weird. I have 2 5-minute AT&T. So, sometimes it works. He's right here. I'm clicking on the X and it doesn't work for $INDU. But if I click on the Disney, then the two symbols go away. I think that may be a bug here. I was trying to find some logic in the way that the symbols were disappearing and showing up, but it seems like it has no rhyme whatsoever. So I click on Apple, Twitter, and Intel, no symbols, click OK. Now it's empty. So let's try that one more time. I'm going to go to rearrange symbols. That goes away. That goes away. So odd. Not sure what the problem is there. So I'm going to go here to my futures. All right. So these two are expired in 2021. So I'm going to remove them. Let's go ahead and see. So you get the idea. I was trying to figure out what the problem was. I think it was a bug. It just the clicking of those X's just didn't respond sometimes. And then it did the second time. So I wasn't sure if that was a bug or not. And if you guys were doing it on your screens at the same time, let me know what your experience was when clicking in those X's. So here we have a list of futures. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here on the gear on the top right corner, because that's a way that you can add or remove columns that you want to see. So this is not about symbol, it's about all the different columns that you see. These are the ones that you're currently seeing. Okay, so let me go ahead and remove some of the ones that I don't need, like the bid. So ask, so you do the same thing that you do on the list of symbols. You click on the X on the left of the name of the columns, that you can remove that. Okay. We have one column here that we don't have on the TradeStation desktop. So this is where web trading has an upper hand over the desktop version. You would think that there's nothing that would really take the web trading platform a little bit above the desktop, but this is one of those things, the next earnings report. That is something that is built into the web trading platform. And I think we're looking for ways into making it available on the TradeStation desktop, or making it a default, one of the built-in studies. But here is available, so you can use it. Let me remove this halted one. And is there a description? These are some of the things that I don't like about. Everybody saw that I was clicking and dragging here. I'm clicking and dragging and it's not responding. And then I click and it responds. Not sure what's going on. Let's go here to the description. I'm going to add it. And I'm going to drag it here with the handle all the way at the very top. So it's very next to the symbol, and then click OK. And that's if I wanted to have a little bit of a description for each one of these symbols. All right, that makes it sometimes simpler to know what's what, especially if it's a list of symbols that you're not really familiar with. It helps, to have a description column tied in with the symbol list. Of course, the next earnings report does not apply to futures. So if I wanted to see next earnings date, I would have to switch back to a list of stocks. Let me go here to Dow 30. And you can see that it resets also all the other columns. I know that I had removed the bid and the ask and the bid and ask size and so forth, but they reset every time. I think it's dependent on the list of symbols. So if I go back to my futures, then you can see that it keeps those settings specific to the list that you're selecting. Let me go here to Dow 30. And you can see that next earnings date right here on the far right. We can sort by this and see which one is the upcoming. And from the list of symbols here, we know that the next earnings are going to be done by Apple on July 26th. There's 50 days until that report comes out. Oh, no. Oh, this is wrong. So that's one of the things that I found about web trading is that the sorting is alphabetical, even on dates, which is surprising, because here, if I want to get dates from from earliest to latest, I can't, because now it's sorted alphabetically. August is first because it starts with an A, and then it just lists all the other months. So not good. So this is not sorting based on date, is sorting in alphabetical order based on the name of the month. Not nice. So by scanning on all these symbols, the one that is closest to have earnings released, it seems to be right here. This one right here. Walgreens. So Walgreens is releasing earnings June 30th. That's about, oh, here's another one. Here's Nike. Nike is going to release earnings July 27th. That's a little bit earlier than Walgreens. I think those are the earnings that are upcoming. What a shame, So, do I like quotes? Yes, I do. But some of these things, it's kind of bothersome. In Radar Screen, I think I could have easily just sorted. The thing is that we don't have dates on Radar Screen yet. But if we release earnings or upcoming earnings date, I would think that somebody would say, well, these should be sorted in chronological sequence, not necessarily, in alphabetical order. So something to keep in mind. Okay, so let's see, what else? Well, if you go here to the gear, one of the things that stands out is the list of available columns. Doesn't come even close to the list of things that you can add inside of the desktop. But you still have some technical calculations going on here. For example, let's suppose that you're interested or you watch the ATR. ATR is something that we've used in some of our classes many times. Last week, we did a class on using ATRs for a strategy. So if you are using ATR and you missed that class, check it out. It should be in the archives if you go to the masterclass channel. But over here, I can find ATR. It's right here, average to range. I can add it. And maybe I can move it up. So it's not all the way at the very left of the screen. I'm going to put it right here next to the net change. And I'm going to click OK. So the ATR calculation gets added over here. I can see the ATR and all these symbols. Let's sort by clicking on the column header, and you can see how the numbers are sorted in ascending order. And if I click on the column header one more time, then you see those values sorted in descending order. Let me remove XYZ from this list. That's not a valid symbol. So you can see that the symbol that has the most ATR movement is United Healthcare. But of course, that's understandable if you're looking at a stock that's worth $490. So the average to range calculation, or the net calculations based on, of course, the value of the security, is not equalized so that you can compare, well, the United Healthcare has a higher ATR than Home Depot. Yes, that's true when you look at the net ATR, but when it comes to a percentage of the price of the stock, then they may be completely different. We talk about this concept, calling it, the ATR value or volatility score. where you're looking at ATR, but in relationship to the stock itself, yes, it moved $12. But what does that mean in relationship to the price? What is $12 when you look at 490? What percentage is that? Because then you'll be able to tell, which stocks are moving significantly. Can you make that type of calculation here in web trading? Unfortunately, no. So web trading, or one of the things that counts as negatively, or as a negative point, is that it doesn't support custom easy language. So even if I wanted to provide my own personal formula here to calculate an ATR that is a percentage of the asset price, I couldn't do it. So that's only possible on the desktop. But if you don't use easy language, then maybe that's something that you don't really need, or something that you're looking for. So maybe this is just enough for you. Another thing to keep in mind is that I don't have all these symbols set to daily. You can see the top 3 are set to daily. And of course, that makes sense for the ATR to show those at the top, because on a daily time frame, we're measuring the ATR on a full day worth of activity. Of course, that's going to be greater than if you were looking at the ATR on a 5-minute time frame. Because on a 5-minute, the security only moves a certain amount, a very small amount. So if you create an average, or an average true range of something set to a 5-minute, you're going to get the average true range related to that 5-minute interval. If I wanted all these to be on daily, that's another thing that counts against web trading. There is no easy way for you to change all these to daily. I've tried right-clicking. I've tried, I don't think it was incorporated. Unless you guys know something that I don't find a way of changing all these symbols to let me pause my notifications here. People will start slacking me at all times, and the notifications, although appreciated, sometimes are not welcome while I'm doing a class. Okay, so I would have to change these one by one. Let me see if I can just click in here and type in daily. Does that work? No, even if I press the D on my keyboard, it doesn't change it to daily. So it's a bummer. It's a bummer that if I have 30 symbols, like in the Dow 30, I have to change those one by one. I don't think this is user-friendly. I wish I could just highlight all the symbols and change them. Some of the right-clicking functionality on the web trading platform, in fact, not some, all of the right-clicking functionality is disabled, because once you right-click on web trading, you don't get a menu for web trading. The menu that you get here is the menu for Chrome. So anytime you right-click inside of a browser, don't forget that you are inside a browser. So the right-click menu will give you the shortcut menu for the browser. At least in this case, it does, So let me just change all these to daily, because I wanted to sort again, because we saw United Healthcare as having the highest ATR, but that was based on 3 symbols that were daily and the rest that were 5 minutes. So I wasn't doing a fair comparison on the list. So now I've set all my symbols to daily. Let's go back here to the top, and I'm going to sort by average true range. So this is ascending and this is descending. The interesting thing is that our symbol rank did not change. United Healthcare is at the top, followed by Home Depot, and then Goldman Sachs. But you can see that we have no way of customizing that calculation. It's always the same. So yes, we do have that, what do you call it? That flexibility, or I would call it benefit of having some technical ideas, but in reality, they're not very much customizable. One thing that you can customize, though, is the number of bars used in the calculation of the ATRs. If I come over here to the gear, I highlight ATR, which is right here. I see some of the parameters that I can change. In this case, is using 14 bars. Let's say that I wanted to use 30 bars instead. If I use 30 bars and I click OK, now looking at the average true range, let's go ahead and sort. Again, at the very top, United Healthcare, number 2, Home Depot. But you can see that Goldman Sachs drops a few notches. So there is a change in the way that the calculation happens. And the historical amount of data that you're using in these calculations, of course, is going to change the study and the ranking of the symbol. So be aware of that. And you can change the parameters on any technical indicator you put in here. Let's take a look at charting. That's the second application that we're going to take a look at today. All right, this is Microsoft. And it loaded Microsoft because of the change we made. Remember that here in settings, if you go to app settings, and if you go to the chart tab, you can set what is the default symbol that shows up when you load up a chart. You can also change the bars to the right. You can change the time frame that shows up. Let's say that I want to see daily bars instead as a default. Candlestick is fine with me. And the sessions regular. So I'm going to close this and try it one more time. I'm going to click on the plus here and a chart. So now you can see that I'm looking at Microsoft set to a daily. So it does change the default. One of the things that stand out when you pull up a chart of any security or any futures is that you find volume right here at the bottom. It's like built in. I wish we had a little bit more flexibility on that volume histogram at the bottom, because sometimes I'd like to change, how intensive the colors are. Right now, it's more like a shade of gray. I'm sorry, a shade of, what are the colors there? Green and red. So not much you can do to that. Let me go over here to the settings of the chart. Let me go here to the gear and go here to chart configuration. That's just to change the time zone and the interval. Let me go back in here. Global settings. In global settings, nothing related to volume here. Appearance, order entry. This is the order entry on the chart. So yeah, sometimes I look at all the different tabs when I pull up web trading, because sometimes engineering or development team may add something that I'm not really aware of, but there's no way or no actual setting for me to change that volume indicator in the background. Like, for example, if you wanted to disable it, because maybe volume is an indicator that you want to see on its own subgraph. So if I come over here to the gear and I go to studies and I say, I want to add volume. If I add it and I click OK, so I see it right there. It doesn't remove the one that is set as a watermark. So it seems like I have volume repeated on my chart, which I don't. So I wish as I said at the beginning, I wish I had a little bit more flexibility as to what I can do with that volume study that shows up as a watermark. All right. So this is my volume average study. I already showed you how to add those studies to the chart. TradeStation Web Trading supports just a collection of studies. It doesn't have, the wealth of technical analysis that is on the desktop. But if you go here to studies, you'll find all the studies that are available. And you'll find the most common ones, of course. If you're looking for RSI, MACD, Bollinger Bands, those are all going to be part of the web trading platform. And of course, they have parameters as well. Like, for example, the volume average study that we just added, I can change, the number of bars that are being used in the calculation of the average. And I can also change the colors that are being used for up color and down color right here from this drop down. Okay. So yes, technical analysis possible in web trading, doesn't give you the full flexibility of the desktop. So if you wanted to make any modifications to easy language, no, it is blocked. But still, it's something very quick and very easy to do. All right, let's go here to removing that indicator. To remove volume, I just have to click on one of its bars. You can see white dots appearing on the indicator. easiest way to remove an indicator, because once you see those white dots, you know that the indicator has been selected, and I can press the delete key on the keyboard and it goes away. At the very top, you have information on the asset. You also have the ability of changing the symbol by clicking on the tab right here on the top. So if that's not intuitive, I'm telling you, you can click on that tab to change the symbol. It doesn't, because if you're not really aware of that, you know, the MSFT on the tab just looks as text on a tab. There's no indication that I can click up there and edit it. But go ahead, click on any symbol and type in a new symbol, AAPL for Apple, enter, and then you find the new symbol gets loaded on the chart. You also have a very convenient toolbar right here on the far left, where you see that D, that's my interval. And if I click on it, you get a drop down with different time frames. You can create a custom time frame, but only for minute intervals. So if I want to do a 144 minute, 390 minute chart, then I get this. This is an intraday. An intraday. This is interesting because this is a 390 minute, gives you the whole day worth of activity on an intraday chart. So I just wanted to tell you that over here, you can also select a custom time frame by entering the number of minutes that you want to see for every bar. Okay, so this is my daily chart of Apple. The next button over is to draw. Limited selection of drawing tools. Again, the desktop has an upper hand here because we only have a line, a trend line, vertical line, horizontal line, and fib retracement. So we do have a Fibonacci retracement kind of drawing tool, but we don't have the whole Fibonacci suite of tools that are on the desktop. The difference between a line and a trend line is that one is segmented, it does not extend, and the other does extend to the right. Let me show you a line. I can click from here to here. Actually, no, it doesn't work like on the desktop where you click and then release and then click again. If you're going to draw a line, you click, hold, and then click again. And you can see that it doesn't extend to the left or to the right. But if you want that to extend right, just select trend line and do the same thing. Click, hold, and then click the other anchor point, and you get a line that extends to the right. Not much information here, you know, just clicking it, moving it. If I wanted to move it, I just click on the anchor points and then move them and adjust them if I want to. You know, that's something that you can do to any line. But if you want to remove it, just wait until those white dots appear on the line. And if you don't see the white dots, click on the line so that they show up, and then you can press delete on the keyboard. But again, the drawing menu, it's kind of limited in that sense. If you want to actually retracements, I can click on a low, and then, I'm always used to releasing the mouse button. And you can see that if you release the mouse button too soon, not horizontal line, it won't draw. It will just, you know, lump all the lines on top of each other. So I'm going to click and hold and then stretch it right here to the top. So that's my Fibonacci retracement tool. In addition to that, you have a little science beaker here on the toolbar. That's just to take you to the studies dialog. We already visited this dialog. And the way we did that is going through the gear here on the top right corner when you go to the gear and click on studies. But from the toolbar, you just have a dedicated, you know, button that takes you there directly, so you can see all other technical studies that you can add. Right here, we have the sessions. So you can click it, and if you want to see pre and post market, you can enable it. Of course, it doesn't make sense on the daily chart. So even if I change this to pre and post market, it does not change the chart. But if I had a 30-minute chart, for example, I can see the pre and the post market segmented right here in my chart. And the background color is an indication of that. So the darker background is going to be the regular session, and the lighter background is going to be the pre and the post market. In addition to changing the sessions, I can change the style. The one that is currently visible is a candlestick, but we also have an open, high, low, close, type of bar, an area chart, and a line chart. Area chart is one that the desktop doesn't support. So if I want an area, This is what it looks like. We see a lot of market commentary kind of sessions happening on the news outlets where they use types of charts like this. You can see a bar, kind of an area chart. This is called, okay. And then lastly, we have this reload button, just in case you see something that is odd right here inside of the chart. You can always reload it so that it reloads from the server and refreshes the data for you. But that's about it. That's not much to say about. There's not much to say about charting other than for you to experiment and navigate. One thing is placing trades, but we're going to do a session on placing trades on web trading, and we'll show you that. But if you guys take a look over here on the right-hand side, on the price scale, you see a plus. If you click it, you get a little menu for buying and selling short. We'll cover that in another class. Maneuvering on the chart, the wheel on the mouse expands and contracts the chart. You also have these buttons at the bottom, allowing you to do the same thing, moving left and right. And you have one here that sends you all the way to the far right. That's about it. That functionality that's part of the desktop is also available here for you to click and squeeze, the prices here on the scale, and this resets back to default. But that's, the features. I want you guys to get your hands on web trading, see how easy it is to add studies, customize them. I didn't show you how to add studies on top of the candles, but if I am looking for a 3-line moving average, I can just add it. The ones that are set here by default are 4, 9, and 18. But if I wanted an 8, a 21, and then a 63, then I'll get those 3 lines right here on the screen. Another thing that web trading is lacking on is alerts. So these studies don't have the ability for you to turn on an alert, which is a shame. A lot of times, you set up a chart, you put in an indicator, and what you want to do is for TradeStation to give you an alert if something's happening on that indicator. For example, in this one, we're looking for the lines to cross. And if we don't get an alert, then we may just miss it. We may not be looking at this exact same chart when it's happening, right? So that's one of the areas that web trading is lacking on. Hopefully, they'll continue to enhance this to add more functionality. But that's the way it is right now. And we haven't talked about linking, but let me restore the size of this. Change this to a 2-panel layout. Close some of these and open up a chart. But if I had my quotes here, okay, I could link the 2 windows together, which I find to be very helpful. Okay, so this is Microsoft right here. Let me click on the little linking icon, is the paperclip right here on the tab. And I'm going to change this tab to the blue group. Notice how the paperclip kind of changes to, or I call it a paperclip, but it's more like a linking, kind of looking button. And I do the same color here for quotes. So now that I click on United Healthcare here, that gets loaded right here on my chart. If I click on Home Depot, then I see Home Depot right here on my chart. So you can see how quickly I can, pull up these symbols by just using those symbol links, all right? I don't see any questions here in the chat. Hopefully, the information was clear. I think web trading is one of those platforms that is intuitive to a certain extent, so you know where to go and click to find stuff. But I wanted to have this class so that you knew all the intricacies or the limitations and some of the things that are related to the web trading platform. But again, this is our class today. Tomorrow, we're going to do our technical analysis series on stochastics, RSI, and percent R. So join me tomorrow at 12:30 for that session. And for questions, general Q&A, 11:30 in the morning, Eastern time, right here for Ask the TradeStation Experts. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful afternoon for the remainder of this Monday morning. And I hope to see you on my next session. Goodbye, everyone.